Hello, everyone, and welcome to Consumed. This is gonna be the finale, probably, so it's gonna
Yep.
act a little different.
Yep.
Um, also, how's everybody?
Hi.
You're
Hello.
you're here. Wow, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I exist for the moment. We'll see if that's still the case by the end of the show.
Mm, 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 good point.
Mhm.
I really
I'm
like Disco Elysium. I just want to say, I really, really like Disco Elysium.
Oh my gosh, I need to get back into playing that. It's so good, though. I was on the middle of day 3 the last time I played.
I
So
had to start an off-stream game, and I'm playing a completely different style detective. And I do not have the same amount of clues that I had before. I'm playing like a physical detective instead of a brainy detective. And so
mhm.
I'm missing so much stuff that my visual calculus picked up. But also, it's really interesting how you notice things differently because of which parts of your personality are dominant.
I definitely noticed that. I'm playing like one of the custom builds, and so I noticed the same clue like 3 different ways, um, and that was
That's really
really
cool.
fascinating.
That's really cool. I love it.
That's good game design.
It
The
is.
rule of
It's really
three.
good game design.
I was trying to explain it to one of my friends, and he's like, "How different is the game?" And I'm like, "Okay, I have to tell you, it's the same game. You're gonna go through the same story, but it's the dressing around the game, and it's how you get through the story that's so different, and it's really, really interesting.
The writing seems really good though.
I
That's,
like
I've
it.
Yeah, I'm really loving it so far.
that's what tempted me the most.
I'm gonna play it tomorrow. I can't wait.
Okay.
It's my
Well,
Tuesday game. Anyway, sorry,
I might have
Lavender,
to watch that.
you
Yes.
were gonna
Suddenly,
say
the main character from Disco Elysium is appears in this game,
something.
and he answers all the questions.
Oh, is that who's gonna answer the questions? Okay, sure.
Yes.
But we all play different aspects of his brain.
Perfect. I call limbic
Sounds
system.
fuck.
Yes.
I call ancient reptilian brain.
I was gonna say you
Tell
kind of
how
need to
far
be the ancient reptilian brain.
you can tell how far I've gotten into watching playthroughs of this game.
You have to do the voice though.
Do I remember the voice?
It's low and rumbly and
Yeah.
like imagine a metal singer talking and rumbling in
Mm,
your ear.
Like a
yes,
metal
I
singer
did that.
singer giving like narration.
Hmm.
But kind of like sexy narration, sexy British narration. I'm not
No.
even wrong.
No, you're not. That's why it's funny.
Hmm.
I feel like you're describing Kiss.
Maybe.
I haven't watched enough of it, but I feel like I would be the shoes.
Which pair though?
What do you mean on both of them?
No, but which pair of
Oh, like
shoes?
definitely some shiny black shoes.
Okay. Because
Mm.
one of the main mechanics of the game is that you find clothes in like the trash or whatever, and then you put them on.
Nice.
And some of them talk to you, like that tie.
Oh my gosh!
Hideous,
So the
hideous
tie
tie.
did not talk to me at all in my stream playthrough, but in my other playthrough, it just keeps trying to get me to kill myself.
Oh
So that's a thing.
no. Wow.
That
I
tie.
I'm gonna need to put some warnings up because I did not realize
Hmm.
how dark the game gets.
Oh
So
Yep.
boy.
yeah.
What are the tie's
Oh boy.
motivations? Wow.
There was definitely some things that I learned in my playthrough that I didn't see in the stream playthrough that you were doing that I was watching, but I don't know if that's just because um, it, I missed that part or if it didn't come up.
I
Um,
wonder. We'll have to like talk about it once I finish the game
I need to
and
finish
talk
the game
about.
too
Yeah,
while we're
I'm
at it, but
only on middle of day 2, so I'm behind you. But
wow, okay, that's fair. Like day 2 flew by for me. Like day 1 was a lot of figuring out how the game works, and then
Mhm.
day 2 really felt like it went really fast.
I just didn't have enough time in this stream because like I finished the Talos Principle
Mm.
and then I'm like, well, we still have like 4 hours left, so let's play more Disco Elysium.
Hmm.
And you pay for like 6 hours.
Well, my first stream of it was like 9.5 hours to get through the
Oh,
first
like
day.
Yep.
yeah, like it was like Astania, is the sun coming up where you are? That kind of late.
Yeah.
I mean,
That wasn't your New Year's stream, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so literally midnight.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was 12:30 when I stopped, so
Oh, that game is so good.
it's really good though. Yeah,
Mhm.
I recommend it. I like it a lot.
Talking about games, this is a game.
Hmm.
We should probably play it.
Yep.
How does it work? What are we doing? What are we doing? We were discussing before the stream how this session was going to go.
Yeah, and
How to
Dildo
force
was
the
like,
game
we
to
have to
end,
actually
basically.
start the stream. And then everybody like hushed right at the end, and then we went live. Um, so I think our kind of goal to end this game, the strat that we're talking about using is we're going to fill in every last one of these circles using Golden Space. So Golden's going to ask us all of these leftover questions. We're going to look back through the game, see how these questions were answered, and we're going to try to put dots in every last one of these circles.
And while we're at it, can you remind us these pro strats for how um, the box is actually created so that we can make sure that we're doing the right things to get proportions that are not stupid?
Sure. So since we're doing Golden's phase, and then we won't really have to do mine, because like if we do Golden's phase and then fill in all of the circles, which we're going to do because I think we're just going to go all the way through Golden's phase over and over again until we do that. No matter what we do, the box is just going to be a dot anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the proportions are there because it's just
Okay,
going to be
okay,
nothing
fair.
and nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds lovely.
Okay. And then at the end of that, we can just check in at each point and see like if there's more reality show left to do that we feel like needs to be resolved, and then we can just play it by ear, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, Golden, look at this board, pick 2 questions, and ask us to recap for our
Oh, I
clip.
gotta type something
Last
really
season
quick.
finale. Sure.
All right.
Oh yay!
Yay, thank you.
Actually, it looks like I missed a month, so this may be actually your true year anniversary.
Ooh.
It might be. It might be.
Let's see here. So I gotta ask some questions.
Yeah.
Adam,
Mhm.
tell me who or what is controlling the radio frequencies, and tell me how do we control them?
Okay. I think the radio frequencies are from the roiling vibrations of the Earth. We've been saying that they are from the sky elevator, the space elevator needle that is. Let me see. Do we have Galaxy Peak still? Yes, we do. So there's this elevator needle that we see in this recap called Galaxy Peak, and we pan up and see that as it touches the sky, it goes through the sky, and there is like a complete absence of nitrogen in this space. So the blue sky gives way completely to the darkness of starry space right at the point of the needle. And while have been vibrations that are coming from this space elevator, it's all being channeled from deep within the earth. And we pan back down through the shaft of the space elevator, and it's almost like a camera is being dropped down and it reaches like free fall or whatever that speed is. And I think it just falls into a pit of lava at the center of the earth that's roiling with red heat. And there are like ocular type shapes that are shifting around in the heat that are vibrating. And these eyes blink and turn into mouths and speak in eldritch tongues that we can't understand. And these vibrations, like, we see them as like energy sine waves that balance out and like bounce all the way up the elevator. And then as those vibrations reach the top, they emanate and broadcast down all the way through this empty space that's been covered in obsidian and molten lava. That's my recap.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're the O's,
That was
so
good.
you answered both questions. Nice.
Okay. I'm going to fill in what is controlling the radio frequencies.
Okay, cool. Let's see here.
And then you can pick someone to go next while I copy one of these dots. Nothing overlaps.
The Staney.
There we go. Nope.
Are the lights strobing? I think that's the right one. It's hard to tell.
That's because they're strobing.
And what else did Didio add into the contracts?
Ooh, okay. So we get this little scene. It's like a post-credit scene, and we see like a young man with I think he had colorful hair. I don't really remember, and like a little mohawk or something, and like glasses that are just like all one lens, like a visor almost. And he like leans back in his chair and he like stretches up his hands and cracks his knuckles and then shakes them out, and the camera kind of zooms over his shoulder onto his screen, and we can see the contracts there. I think it was Ferdinand's and June's, and in addition to making it so that they got what they wanted, whatever nebulous thing that was, basically he wrote away their lives to this company. So the company now basically owns them and all of their intellectual property. But also, there's like a mandatory love interest that each one of them needs to find now to spice up the show.
Nice.
And we can just see like the lights like blinking in like the screens, kind of like stuttering and flashing on Didio's face.
All right, cool. I think you answered the questions.
I feel like having all of their intellectual property belong to the company was exactly what Ferdinand wanted removed from the contracts.
I mean, apparently not, because he still got what he wanted.
I guess not. I guess not.
He must have wanted something else.
I guess. Well, I feel like
I'm gonna put it in, are the lights strobing? Because I feel like I want somebody else to also answer what did he add into the contracts.
Oh. Way to play this.
it's like a strategy game.
Well, I feel like that's a more interesting question to ask again.
Oh, no, I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. Kelsa, what bubbles up from the earth? And how do we control them?
Whew. We see like from last was it, yeah, it must have been last week. The lava fishing episode. Uh we see like those sound waves that had been like going up the tower. We see them like enter into like magma tunnels, like little bubbles of sound, and they zip through the earth like blood arteries and then make it to this volcano and just burst out of the surface. And like each one of the little pops you see of the magma when you look at the calendar of the volcano, the radio waves are popping out, and we can't control them. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm I'm gonna go ahead and
Golden needs to tell you which ones you've answered first.
You
what?
answered them both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was going to say that. Well, doesn't matter what I was gonna say. It's not my. I'm gonna go ahead and put my dot in what bubbles up from the earth is really
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
You can control them ineffectually. That's how
Mhm.
it works.
Now, Golden, you choose one, two for yourself.
Okay. Let's answer how many lives June has ruined. And how did they turn off the camera? And we see June's past, where she's been so cruel and so mean to so many people and just, stomping all over them. And we see also like all the things that have happened during the what's it called when not the showtime,
Unreeling.
yeah, during the unreelings where like everything June chose was changed by the other characters on the show, and now nothing June has done um, was because of her own choices. So the only life June has ruined was her own.
Oof.
So how'd they turn off the camera? Well, you can always turn off the camera when the scene's over. And there's nothing else to see. That's how uh, I think we close on that part of June's story, at least. So I will copy my dot. Into the correct area. All right. Adam, who has tasked Brian with control of the mosque's incinerator? And what else did Didio add into the contracts?
The eyes know that the planet of death needs a custodian and something to feed it to maintain its gravitational field because it is honed, it's held together. It is a gas giant planet that is held together by a black hole at the center. And a little bit of matter seeps away into another dimension slowly over time, which means this planet, if it is to continue to exist, which it has to, it always needs to be fed more matter. And that's what the incinerator is for. But Brian thinks that Sebastian is tasking him with control of this incinerator, but she's just a adorable cat girl proxy for the eyes.
Hmm. I don't know if you answered what Didio had to do with that. So you only answered the one question.
Okay.
I didn't notice that that question had already hit dots in it. You didn't put the dot in there anyhow. Okay.
It's fine.
We'll just ask more questions. It's all good.
Yeah.
Why don't you answer the question about what Didio put in the contract? I want to know what your opinion is.
I mean, to be fair, he could ask you to do that too. You could answer it in something else and then put the dot elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
True enough.
I mean,
don't worry. I would have if and when he does, which I feel like he will.
Probably.
yes. Astani, how did they turn off the camera? And what burns in Kaylee's heart?
We get a scene of Kaylee, and she's walking, and she's leaving these blackened footprints behind her. She's got her arms down, and in each hand, she holds the hands of one of her daughters. And I think there's like a char kind of creeping up their arms, like it's spreading from Kaylee, but she's smiling. That's all I'm gonna answer.
Okay. I don't think you talked about the camera, so you only talked about Kaylee's heart.
Yes, intentionally.
Mm.
All right, Kosa.
Yes.
What else did Didio add into the contracts? And how do we control them?
Now that's an interesting one, especially if I want to try to combine them. So I think we see Didio sitting at his computer desk again, just like we had before, where we saw what was added over the screen on his shoulder. But he like spins around and starts talking to nothing, and is basically breaking the fourth wall. And he says, well, he said there wasn't enough shipping material. Hope this makes you happy. You just know he's talking directly to the eyes.
Nice. I think you only answered what Didio added into the contracts.
I feel like you're giving me that answer so that I have to put my dot there, and I can't force you to answer that question later.
I mean, I don't know how.
The answer, how we control them, is through the eyes. That was the answer.
Okay. All right, you can do both.
Alrighty. Done.
I just didn't get the feeling that the eyes were in control, but I guess they were.
No, I'm with you there, Golden, because if I had been in your position, I would have been like, okay, you answered neither question, so
I was
I thought you were being generous there.
well, I reaffirmed that he added the shipping clause, and and the knowledge that that was the whim of not him personally, but the
Right.
eyes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely
Right.
no selfish motive. Zero selfish motive.
Exactly.
So what else did Didio add into the contracts? And how did they turn off the camera? Well, what Didio's was trying to do all along was find a way to end suffering. So he added in a way to end everyone that was watching the show.
Wow. Okay.
And that's why he had to be in the void. And that's but they haven't turned off the camera yet because we're still here playing this game. So I will say I answered what they added into the contracts. Adam.
Hmm.
I'm looking for the final circles. I don't have to worry about the circles that are green, right?
Right.
Good.
So that circle is taken care of.
I think it's just how did they turn off the camera? I think that's the only one left.
I'm looking, yeah. Adam, how did they turn off the camera? And
how did they turn off the camera?
Just imagining two of you like leaning over a desk, all like interrogator style, like good cop, bad cop. How did they turn off the camera?
I'm just like,
Tell me.
I was the one who wrote down this question. I'm not supposed to answer it.
yeah.
I didn't put me up to this. Let me out.
Yeah, how did they turn off the camera and empty circle is your question.
We see the moment where looked into, or no, it wasn't them. It was the neighborhood of Giant Sleep itself that looked into the camera and saw. It looked into the camera lens, and it looked so deeply that it saw an empty circle right in the middle. And in its own imagination, it saw a planet of glass. And it didn't understand what that was because it has no perspective to understand what it is.
Okay, you answered the question.
I was trying to just answer empty circle, but
I mean, I think that's what you did.
I think you very much succeeded in answering empty circle.
Yes.
It's okay. If
I have to put
I
this here.
can answer how did they turn off the cameras if you need me to.
Yes, we can just keep on putting dots in, even though they all have dots.
That's true.
Oh,
That's
okay. I didn't
true.
realize that you had answered how did they turn off the cameras. Okay.
Yes,
Colton said that I did, and
because
I was like, okay.
yeah,
All right then.
how did they turn off the cameras, Danny? And who is the first to break?
Oh, that is such a good question that we keep coming back to.
Mhm.
We cut back to that shot of Troy and Kaylee in the dark chamber, making out. We can see his skin like starting to redden from the intense heat that comes off of Kaylee, but he's into it. Um, we see Troy reaching over to like it's like a camera set up on a tripod. I feel like that's how they do like the confessionals. And he just fumbles over and he hits a button and the light turns off. But we focus on the camera and we can see Troy and Kaylee reflected in like the lens, but we also see um, faces faces of people who should not be or have never been staring back.
Mm.
I love it.
All right, you answered the questions.
He sounds so begrudging.
Fine, you did it.
I guess, whatever.
I am. That's my job, is to be very critical. There you go.
Mhm.
All right, all the questions have been answered. Now what, Adam?
What is the next step?
Now what? Now we have to name the episode, right? Name our finale.
Mm.
Okay.
At least what we would normally do.
All right.
And so you take
Name
any word on the
our-
board, or is it like a word that we use, like from a question we answered?
I feel like you can take any word off the board
Okay.
at this point. That feels right.
Okay. I know which one I would pick.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have two that I would pick. One or the other.
You can pick 0 of them.
I know, it's not my job. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking at them going, ooh, that would be an interesting name for a last episode.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the word that I want is turn.
That's... I think that's an interesting word. I think that's got a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
Turned?
Just turn.
Yeah, I feel like we're turning.
I was looking a lot at Ruined
I saw
and
that.
Yes,
also
Ruined.
Incinerator.
Incinerate. I thought
I was
about
looking
that.
at contracts, frequencies, and dusk were my 3 that I was kind of looking at.
Yeah, I thought incinerate would be good. Like, I'll go with turn.
I think it's interesting.
All right, I have
Or Who
updated.
could also be an interesting title.
Yeah.
Or what?
No. What you have
How?
to say is who/what because they're technically not separated by space. Because we just end
It
the game.
depends on which one you get, because there's a who here.
I thought strobe would be good.
Mm.
go with how.
What I'm talking about is this one.
I know you go with who/what.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the theme of this game is just who, what, huh,
How? Why?
Yeah, definitely not
how many,
no. They even answered that one.
which ones.
I like Bubble. Bubble's good.
Yeah, Bubble would have also been good.
If it wasn't the last episode, I'd be down for Bubbles.
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't feel
I'm actually high
final
key
enough.
into um there's like a bubble phase in art history, which is super about like speculative bubbles and like bubble symbolism. So I would be actually super down for Bubbles as the name of the final episode.
Yeah, it'd be very artsy.
Yes.
It would be. I like that, but also it's your choice, and I've
Yep,
already put
exactly.
Yeah, I chose Turn.
I've
Yep.
already put turn on there, so
Right,
Yeah.
when it's turned.
Okay. So Golden did the last calibration phase, so you would be playing the neighborhood if we're doing a reality show. Our final one.
Okay. Final reality show.
Mhm.
I will pick Black Bluff.
Awesome.
does that mean we are having our final reality show?
What was your question?
Then has it been determined we are having our final reality show, as opposed to moving on to your calibration and then ending?
So there's two different ways we could do this. We could either do a final reality show, or we could do like a weird chop end of the reality show where the reality show ends on the point where everybody is searching for answers, and then the point where we get the answers is like doing all the calibration phases, and it's this whole weird other format.
I feel like doing the calibration phases to get the answers and then coming back at the end with the final bit of reality show that's like all confessionals and then announcing the winner feels very reality show to me.
Okay, I like that too. So did we want to do mine, and then we can go around and like talk about how everyone relates to each other, and we can take all the final aspects off the board?
I mean, can we? You have to draw a line.
Are there? Oh, yeah, there's a couple we could take off.
Yeah.
And especially because we talked about we can go off the board.
2 up here. I see.
I only see 3. We can get 2 actually.
Yeah, you
top.
could get those 2 there, and I think that's it.
Actually, you could probably take the neon underpass too.
Yeah, but okay, so there's those 3 of which you can get 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then there would be one left over that is really hard to connect to something else,
And then there's
if not impossible.
the subliminal flamenco music over here. We have a colorful pattern suit over here.
But that's all in the.
Oh, we have smokestacks and street view cameras. We could do that one, but that's
the exclusion zone, isn't it?
I mean, technically, colorful isn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just because it's there doesn't mean there's a way to connect it to anything, because we can't cross lines here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless we want to void that rule for the final.
I don't think
that could be an interesting way to do it, because it seems really hard to do otherwise.
I mean, we've got basically We've got basically two pairs we can work with. And I mean, I feel like
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe what happens is we decide there's only two of us who can play this round, and we have to decide who wants to be the last two, who's like interested in doing this phase for like the two last bits of narration and the style of this calibration. I'm okay with not going.
I would be down to go, but one thing I want to just bring up is that we've never given Troy an aspect. He doesn't relate to anybody or anything. So I feel like whoever goes, it would be interesting to see what they think Troy. I'm just throwing out there. Everybody else has gotten to have a relationship with something or someone.
Yeah,
And so I would be curious to see what people think about him.
that's very interesting.
I kind of like him being the odd man out by not having any relationships at all.
That too.
I feel like it's very telling, but
Is Kaylee's aspect even related to anything, or is that what I gave her with the ocean and the hair and all that?
Go back to the reality channel. Yeah, she's got a
Oh,
ton
I'm in the
of
wrong thing.
yeah, she's got a
Okay.
ton of things.
That's right. I don't know. how this thing
Magmedusa
works.
hair. That's very good.
Troy has gonna steal so many books, Yubiach, which isn't even really a thing.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I would be down to go, but
Okay.
if Golden and Kelso really, really want to go, I'm happy to step aside.
Okay.
I-
And
I think I'm okay with Troy also being, empty.
I don't have anything I really like that's really jumping out at me, so I don't mind not going. I want to see what Estani is doing.
yeah. So, Estani, what you would do is you would tell me whether you want to
Star
do
and neighborhood.
first. Thank you. Okay. Um. Show me the relationship between Troy and Galaxy Peak.
Okay. So I'm drawing a line between the Neon Underpass and the Iron Helix Skybridge. And the Neon Underpass I'm gonna put onto Troy.
Mm.
If I can type.
Mhm.
And on Galaxy Peak, I'm gonna put the Iron Helix Skybridge. Oop, there we go. I think that those two are related. The Neon Underpass is the underpass beneath the Skybridge. And it is sort of like an off the beaten path, sort of like a sub neighborhood within the neighborhood, if that makes sense. Like a little community, insular, all of its own. It's got like really cool restaurants and like people will sit in the underpass and like do like street performances or like hawk paintings or sell fake sunglasses, that sort of thing. I think the relationship between Galaxy Peak and Troy by these two things is that Troy really likes to find hidden gems.
Got it.
cool.
Does he like to find hidden gems on his phone? Hmm.
Okay, so
Oh, and then I remove them from the board.
right. Golden, what do you want to see?
I mean, 2 neighborhoods.
Okay, cool. This is a really hard decision for me.
You seem to be really into the neighborhood thing.
Yeah. Smokestacks and street view cameras. Okay. Okay.
Street view cameras with red recording lights.
Yep. Show me the relationship between Small Step and Giant's Leap.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm going to put the subliminal flamenco music on Small Step. I'll put the colorful hair extensions on Giant's Leap. So I feel like the 2 neighborhoods are kind of in each other's personal space at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Small Step is the more agile partner. Kind of like stirring up the melting pot that is now Giant's Leap.
Mm-hmm.
While Giant's Leap is like parts of it are kind of like flowing off like stalactites, or like, when you have a stretchy piece of plastic and you pull it apart and it slowly, you know, bends and frays.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's being pulled apart, and it's just like a network of these colorful cables holding the different patches together.
I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. While Small Step, the music is just, it's not just motivating the like describing how it's moving. It's also like, obviously the music is playing everywhere, like that's the theme and the mood of the town right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put these things in.
Yep. And out of sheer ritual, I am going to remake this box. And I'm going to do it bit by bit so that we can see it shrink into oblivion.
Don't you also have to change the aspect ratio? Or don't you have to change the square size to 0?
Yeah. cell width 0.
It's not gonna let you. I guess it might.
Yeah, I guess it is because I am not seeing anything.
Okay.
Cool, that works. Shrink, 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 shrink. Our 3:1 aspect ratio is so small that we cannot see it. I am going to shrink the aspect ratio box into the word crack.
Okay.
And
Do it.
Sinks into the cracks of old standards of resolution.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I'm here for it too.
It's tiny. And that's my face.
Okay.
So now what do we want to do? Do we want to do our final reality show right now? Because if we do, then I would need to pick a neighborhood and go, since I was last to calibrate.
Okay.
Okay. I'll be... Who do I want to be? I can't be Giant Sleep, so I will be Small Step, since we're kind of continuing from that. And then I'm going to start off our reality show, and we're going to drive this toward the end. This scene takes place in a small step without cages anymore because they were all shipped away to someplace else off camera. And specifically, we are on a patio of like, it's like a shop for like garden goods or something like that you find at like the side of the highway or whatever. And it's styled like this bucolic country home sort of house. So it has like this patio that like extends, or like a porch, patio porch. I forget what the difference between those two things are, but it extends around like maybe 2 or 3 corners of like the rectangle that is this shop. And there's just like rocking chairs that are just kind of there, strewn all over the place. There are people that come and sit in them and rock back and forth, and then they lose interest and like go into the shop to buy shit from like the, what's that called? Keep thinking of the word orphanage. That's not right. Nursery. That's what I'm thinking of.
An orphanage for trees. Got
An
it.
orphanage. Yeah. So I am going to cast. I want Troy, Brian, and Ferdinand to be in the scene because they are the fan favorites of this show, because they've gotten the most votes overall. But I want... Okay. Does anybody have immediate preferences for who among those 3 they want to play? Because if you don't, I'm happy to just cast you.
My first vote for myself is Troy. Second vote Ferdinand.
Okay.
Does anyone contest this?
Can be
No.
Troy. I don't mind.
Or if you'd particularly prefer to see me as someone, but I'll be Troy.
Okay. Yeah, you can be Troy. Estaney, you can be Ferdinand, and Golden, you can be Brian.
Okay.
I'm glad that I've made a character that you want to play, Kelsa.
Always.
Very good.
Okay.
Oops, I almost opened Troy's sheet because I was just thinking about him. Anyway,
Yep.
I'll be the side-eyeing Ferdinand.
Mhm.
Okay.
And your challenge is is that Martinique and Arwen, as you like open up these swinging double doors, um, Martinique and Arwen are really close to the doors in front of you, and they both, before they let you pass, they say, "We found the contracts, but can you find the contracts? We are having an Easter egg hunt inside this nursery. Inside some of these eggs," or no, what they actually say is, "Each egg contains a different contract. You want to find as many eggs as you can because you will get your choice of contract at the end." Um, and they say, I think they give you like a time limit too. That's like 12 minutes. That will start as soon as the three of you walk into the door.
Dude, banging. I got this.
Awesome. So I'm going. All of you open your sheets and get your names ready. I need to change my name in the Roll20 because I'm not Brian anymore.
I'm
Small
still
step.
Troy.
I'm still Ferdinand.
Okay, I changed. Let me know when you're on the sheets so that I can count.
I have my whatever ready to go. My shot. My
Mhm.
shot.
Yeah.
Shot. Got to shoot the shot.
Yes. I have completely randomly chosen my shot.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Should have known.
Someone didn't.
So Brian and Ferdinand are together in a confessional, and Troy is on these Easter eggs.
I
Don't worry,
told
I have
you
a
I'd do
plan.
it.
I have a plan for that.
Cool.
Yeah, I told you I'm on it. So, as soon as like I don't know why I'm picturing like a handkerchief drop for
Yeah.
the start.
Mhm.
Like as soon as the start is signaled, Troy just jets off into the nursery, and like he starts by like jumping up and like looking in nooks and crannies and stuff. Being tall, he tries to take advantage of that, and then once he's kind of made some rounds, then he's gonna like jump into the bushes and start going through the underbrush, you know, and as well as like while he's like shimming up trees, seeing if he can spot any that are just kind of out in the open or maybe like behind something, but you can see from a height up. Um, Basically, you know, he's really good at doing a lot of things, and so there's definitely. Oh yeah, he also takes off his shirt. Like when he goes to climb a tree, he immediately just like, you know, and then muscles up a tree.
Mhm.
Um,
So
because he's got to show off a little bit. Is what I'm saying.
your shirt comes off, there's a pop idol beat that comes in. What does it transform this place into in Troy's mind?
Um, like a bachelorette party. Like he's there to show off, um, for all the hot ladies, um, everybody who's there. Like, like basically, it makes this where he's the center of attention. Like even more so than before.
Awesome.
Uh,
I can't cut, so
I was gonna say no, I can, but I had to let there be dead air for too long so that it would trigger.
Yep.
Um,
literally none of my cuts ever happen.
Yeah.
so time is gonna buffer, distort, or jump. To create a temporal buffer, I can spend 2 uh, to control Z and take an object for the unreeling. I don't want to do that. That sounds dumb.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, I just had to reread it because this is a new mechanic that I'm trying to figure out.
Yep.
So yeah, we get this like the music starts, and in Troy's mind, he's like putting on a show for all the hot mamas, and uh like he kind of like dances from one hidden egg to the next one, but then like it like does a reverse of the shot, and so then it like turns into a clip montage of like just a gif of him doing this one dance move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth,
Mhm.
until it uh like speeds up, slows down, and then cuts.
Cool.
Can I cut a cut?
I mean, I did that once.
Sure, why not? Fuck it.
I'm open to it.
I didn't say where it cut to, so maybe it cuts to a cut.
Yeah, I want to say it cuts to the tile screen where we see the animated GIF of Troy being downloaded onto millions of cell phones. Like they're just like imagine like there's like 4 cell phones in a grid, and there's 9 and 16. It just like keeps on downloading onto the cell phones until all the cell phones blur together into one pixelated Troy with the tile screen on there. And then we go to the next scene.
Ooh. So if you're still in the same place, both of you would be doing your confessionals.
Okay. Saying it doesn't matter to you where we are.
We should be in the dark chamber to do our confessionals.
Mm-hmm.
What I picture is that when we walk through the doors, instead of walking into this nursery, we walked into the dark chamber.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking like the dark chamber would be a part of the library. Only it's now at night, so like normally I imagine the mosque has like sunbeams pouring in from everywhere, but it looks completely different in the dark with no like lanterns or lamps even.
I almost want to say the dark chamber is like a non-real space.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's part of what it looks like to Brian, but that's not what it looks like to Ferdinand.
That sounds good.
So I think we see Ferdinand just kind of like look around at all these dark walls. Um, Maybe we see like flickering lights when we're on like when we're in Ferdinand's POV. We see like flickering lights and like almost billboards in the distance, like as if the lights on them were broken, so we only see them for like a moment. And then he goes and he sits down on one of the two stools in front of the camera, looks over at Brian.
Yeah, I think Brian is, in his view, like standing next to a really antiquated file card drawer that's full of the Dewey Decimal System cards. And he pulls them out of one of the drawers and ruffles through them and says, Ferdinand, I've wanted you to come here for a long time.
Come where?
Because
To the dark chamber?
to this, into my safe place, my sacred place.
He kind of narrows his eyes, confused.
This is This is a place where I come when I need to think clearly.
Ferdinand looks over at the billboards, then back to Brian, clearly not understanding.
Yeah, Brian's just confused.
Don't worry, we both are.
I can add a question to the pot. How do both of your nerves handle the pressure?
Ferdinand reaches into his coat, and it's almost like a bag of holding in that, like, he reaches his arm like through this part, but then it just keeps going and going, but you don't see his arm on the other side. He reaches in, we see him fish around, and then he pulls out an Easter egg. And then he tosses it to Brian. He's like, "So did you want one? I think I can get as many out of here as I want."
Yeah, Brian like awkwardly grabs it with both his hands. And like, yeah, I mean, of course.
So what does yours say? Read it like fortune cookie.
All right. So I think Brian like twists it open at the seam and takes out a roll of microfilm, which he plugs into the microphone reader and then projects it on the wall. And it says, I, the undersigned, grant not sure what we call this channel. I was going to call Kelsa Delphi's Twist channel the rights in perpetuity to this content and my participation in it.
I think Ferdinand sees that being projected on a billboard somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of tilts his head. Maybe we don't want to find the eggs. That is shit part of contract.
But the thing is that we get to choose, right?
I don't know. I thought that if you find the eggs, they are all part of your contract, and you don't want that in your contract, let me tell you.
Oh, wait, I gotta get rid of this contract?
Yeah, you need to, like, here,
Give it to someone
give
else?
it back. Code is not the reality. I just shove it back in.
Okay.
He takes it, he shoves it into his coat, he fishes around for another one. He's like, okay, I'll read that first. If it's a good one, then we can decide if you want it or I do. And he opens it up. And his is just like a piece of paper, but like when we look at it, it looks like it's almost like a ransom note, and that it's been like compiled of a collage of letters from like other sources of print, like magazines and newspapers and stuff. And he says, "Oh, this one says I get free Chinese food for a year. I want this one."
I love the idea of this ransom note just looking like, or this contract looking like a ransom note, and then just being like, "Oh yeah, that's normal."
I feel like this is where it's like you get a contract for a reality show, and then the next thing is like get like a gift card for a Chinese restaurant that's like supposed to be in your head. A reality show.
So I guess he just fishes into his coat. He finds another egg. He chucks it at Brian.
Right, Brian catches it and opens it up. Yeah, and projects again. I think it's still microfilm, and this one says, it's mostly redacted except for this 12-digit number with no commas.
Huh.
That can't be too bad.
What do you think it means?
Maybe we can plug it into something else.
I don't even know how you were getting them up on the billboards like that.
Oh, I have this projector.
I mean, I don't see what you are doing over there, but
It's just too dark.
Mhm.
but I think we can get as many of these eggs as we want. Strange that we're in here, though. What do you think we're doing here? He stands up and kind of nudges the tripod with his shoe. Like normally when I'm here, I have like something to complain about or problem or anything pissed off. But here I'm just getting eggs out of my jacket.
Maybe it's just a chance to be alone.
But we are not alone. I mean, we are alone, but individually.
No, of course not. I guess usually when we say these things, we're expecting to like talk to each other, but this time I mean, talk to the viewers, but this time we can just talk to each other.
Really suppose so. Um, I think we see Ferdinand reach into his coat, and I'm gonna use this as a cut,
Okay.
just to say. So I'm gonna mark down one of my different color cuts.
Mm-hmm.
He reaches into his coat. He pulls out another egg. This one is like a weird color. Like all the other ones have been like different, like spring colors. Like someone just bought a pack of Easter eggs at the store. This one's like jet black. And he kind of turns it over in his hand. His brows kind of furrow a little bit. He cracks it open, and it cracks like an actual egg. And inside there's a piece of paper. And he unrolls the piece of paper, and there's a name on there. It says Bryce. And then um what is the name for it? Like it's like the font is all messed up. What's that called again?
Zalgo.
Yeah, it's like a Zalgo Bryce. Like and
Mm.
it's been like seared into the paper, and it gets seared the onto the screen like an after image. And we freeze on that as we cut to Kelsey's action shot.
All right, so we cut back over to um, Troy, who has he's got a a reusable grocery bag, that is like advertising some trendy grocery store in Galaxy Peak, and he's like shoving Easter eggs into that, and he's got like a dozen already, and he's just going around, and like he hasn't even noticed that nobody else is here. Like literally nobody else. And he just keeps like it's almost cartoonish as he goes around and like pops up under a rose bush, like where he's got like the roots dangling off of his head like he was underground or something, and then he's got the egg, and then he ducks back down again, and he's like up in a tree and hanging upside down, and then he's got another egg and he puts it in the bag, and then like he does this thing where he's like worming around on the ground underneath like some hedgerows and stuff. um, and it follows him as he goes like to like there's like a pond or like a fountain actually probably, and like inside the fountain there's more eggs, and he like jumps into the fountain, and it's like super like surprisingly deep, and he has to like literally dive his entire height in order to find some more eggs that are buried sunken under the water.
Can
Mm-hmm.
I offer that some of the eggs that Ferdinand has pulled out of his coat have come from Troy's bag?
Oh, yes. Definitely. Um, and I think maybe I can help you out there with one of your cuts because I was looking at what they were. Um, so we see Troy's been like underwater and he comes up and he's holding an Easter egg in each hand. One of them is a familiar dark black that we just saw a moment ago, and the other is like a pale lavender color, um, very incredibly exactly reminiscent of my color.
Mhm.
Yay, someone used it, so I can use a cut.
You're welcome. But like we see him like like kick floating at the edge of the fountain, and he like puts the black egg into the bag, and then is like about to crack open the other one, but we like kind of follow the black egg as it goes into the bag, and then like rolls out into nothingness at the bottom of the bag.
So I'm gonna use my cut, I think, if that's okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna spend
please.
2 so I can color code in a filled in shape.
Mhm.
Um, when someone brings their player color into their description, spend 1 and answer, but I'm spending 2 to do that.
Yep.
Well, it says instead to color code in the fill in shapes. Does that mean I don't do my cut?
You also do your cut.
Okay. Then the instead is kind of confusing there. What colors linger, brighten, or go transparent as we fade into the next shot? Well, clearly the black lingers until it vanishes, but also, I feel like it's almost like as we're following the eggs, we're kind of like fading into almost like a filter where all of the green is like washed out of the image. So we are only seeing like the reds and the blues and the purples. And so I think like that's where we get like more of that pale lavender color is very present here, as well as we also see electric blue and a dark brick red.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to color code a shape and then we're going to go back to our confessional.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Let me color code something that is weird. If I can, what layer are they on? Map layer? Looks like
Yep.
map layer.
Map.
Too many
Make
layers.
this one like salmon color. The salmon color is like the left circle. There we go.
Cool.
And I think we fade in on I want to say Brian and Ferdinand are like sitting on the floor, like cross-legged in front of each other now, and they're just like chatting and using this time to just kind of like catch up. And so I think we fade in on, and like as we fade in, like the colors start to like normalize as like the green returns to the picture. And
Right.
oops, sorry.
Mic attack.
Yeah, I gesture with my hands. And Ferdinand is saying, "So, how are things going, Brian? Are you feeling more confident now? We had a discussion last time about how you weren't feeling so certain of yourself. Are you feeling better now?"
Yeah, feeling a lot more like I know what I want.
That is good. It's not always easy to figure out what that is. Took me a long time. Was not always, famous fashion designer.
Well, now you've been doing it so long, could you ever be anything else?
People can change. There's always time to change and or reinvent yourself or find new passions in life.
Hmm.
It's never too late.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to change. I don't know if change is the right thing for anyone.
Hmm. Ferdinand kind of looks down. He looks at like the back of his hand. He's like kind of looking at the white cracks that are like spider veined all over his skin. And he says, "Well, sometimes I don't think we have a choice in that. Sometimes we are all changing all the time, aren't we? You are not the same person yesterday as you are today, and you will be someone completely new tomorrow. Or at least a little bit new."
No, I understand. It's just that, I mean, like when if I wanted to do something completely different, or if I wanted to I keep growing the way I am now.
Hmm.
Just, do I uproot myself from the library and plant myself on the side of small steps in the sun?
I suppose that is a choice for you to make, Brian. And I guess the nice thing is that even if you choose one, it does not mean that you cannot choose the other later. Like if you choose to stay in the library and then maybe 5 years later you decide, you know what, then maybe I'm not for library anymore. I want to grow in Son of Small Steps. If Small Steps is still there, then why not? And
I
then if
guess
you
I'll.
decide later, oh, maybe sun is too bright, I want to go back into the darkness of the library. There's still option too.
Well, I guess I'll have to find someone else to take care of the incinerator then.
I
Maybe Troy
mean,
will do it.
I mean, I would not trust that boy with taking care of too much.
No.
Maybe if you want him to break incinerator, maybe then yes. He laughs, but like there's like he's saying that fondly, not like this, not like in a mean way.
I mean, maybe that's what he decides he has to do.
Maybe. I do not know how he makes decisions. I do not think it is oftentimes the result of deep thinking. Not that I am complaining, I'm just saying that it's not his way.
No, but that's what makes me think it might work.
Maybe so.
He seems to think of himself as a hero.
That is true. He definitely thinks of
Well, I just
himself
have
that way.
to
Make the
tell him
incinerator
about
sound
all the
like
good that it could do.
make it sound like very important, sexy job, and he will do it.
Exactly.
So, do you not want to take care of the incinerator? It felt like you were founding like a whole cult around it. Is that not what is happening?
Well, it's not my call. Just it has to be fed. It's their responsibility.
Hmm.
How do my synths sweep the camera Jones across the landscape inside this dark chamber?
Mm. feel like each camera drone is like an individual key on a synthesizer. So like we see one and it's just one key being held down, a really high note. And then 3 pass by, that's the lower chord.
I think Ferdinand closes his eyes, and for a moment, both he and Brian hear the sound of rain falling on metal, like the metal of a cage. As Ferdinand is remembering being trapped in the cage by she who will not be named, and he opens his eyes again and he looks to Brian and he says, "Is that the way she? I don't. It's almost like I have a memory that I am having trouble to remember. I know someone put me in a cage. Is that what the cages were for? To feed the incinerator?"
I don't think that's what they were for, but they weren't destroyed even after we melted them and poured the metal down. But what what could the cages accomplish in the void?
Ferdinand shrugs and then he reaches into his coat and he pulls until he has a cage. And he just sets it really loudly on the ground in between them.
Why do you have that?
He just kind of shrugs. He's like, I mean, there's lots of things in my coat and nothing. It is really weird. Look, he opens it up and there's just like a starscape void in his coat. But you can reach in there and get out things. It really does not make sense.
All right, I think Brian reaches in and then he pixelates and glitches out.
You're
And
not
he starts
supposed to
getting
go all the
sucked
way
into
in.
and that's my cut. So we cut as Brian's getting sucked into the coat.
and Ferdinand shouting, you're not supposed to go all the way in the coat."
Amazing.
So what does
Oh,
that shot take us to? Like,
yeah.
what's where do we go? Is it back to me?
I think it is back to you because it just goes to the next scene, right?
Right.
Is this where uh Brian falls out of my grocery bag?
I like that.
Oh, dude. Are you alright? Did you like fall out of that tree? He clearly was not paying attention.
What am I doing here?
Dude, we're collecting eggs, remember? We gotta get the contracts, right? Like, this one lets me get free fries from Taco Smell.
What? It's way better in this weird cryptic thing, and he shows this contract with like, if you imagine like words, letters, not even whole words, but like a third of the letters have been cut out with a razor blade, like little squares out of the paper. I'm like, look, when he takes that and puts it on top of another contract and he moves it around like kind of weird puzzle and keeps changing the contract.
Oh, dude. That's like real trippy and also horrifying.
Yeah, I don't want this. Like isn't the point of a contract? It doesn't change underneath you. Like this could be whatever anybody wants.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I'll take it off your hands, man, if it's like too much for you.
Yeah, sure. If you want this, I just
Right.
want
He like slaps it over the fries contract. He's like, haha, yeah, now it's egg rolls.
Egg rolls. And then I move it a little bit, and it's French fries.
It was already French fries, man. Egg rolls are where it's at. These are the California egg rolls, like with avocado and shit in them. They're like normally $5. This is free for life.
That's a lot of egg rolls.
That's a lot of avocado.
How did my synth sweep the camera drums across the landscape?
I think it's like exactly identical to what happened a minute ago in the nothing space. Like
Yep.
they come in from the same angle and the same notes play. It's like it's the same swarm of them.
Yep.
As they fly around the garden picking up on this, and like they see Brian, and like one of them like stops, hovers midair, and like starts like zooming in and out with his little camera face, like we found him.
Yeah, I think Brian isn't paying to that so much, but I think the sound is like knocking off some apples off the tree, and some of them are drones, so they sprout little legs and scurry away because they've been found out. Then Brian like starts looking through the apples, maybe thinking one of them might be
An Easter egg.
Yeah.
I feel like by now our time limit must have been up. Like
That's your choice to
so
decide.
then like there's like a bong that sounds across the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that was the signal for us to all go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ferdinand is there too, but we never saw how he got out of the dark chamber.
Right.
Okay.
That's not important.
And he's just like at his feet is just littered with eggs. And you could just see him reaching into his coat and more eggs are just coming out.
Troy starts dumping out his like bag of eggs, and like at one point one of them is just about to fall out, and then it gets snatched up and pulled out of Ferdinand's
like maybe
coat.
we see Ferdinand's hand
Yeah,
at the
just
bottom
like,
of his bag, just
Yep.
reaching it.
just reaching in there. So you get one last one as I pour them all out on the table.
So I think Brian's still got that redacted contract. And every time I look at it again, the number is 1 digit longer.
Huh.
That's
We see Ferdinand
not creepy
open
at
up
all.
the egg that he just pulled out of Troy's thing and then close it back up and throw it back in his coat, and it falls out of Troy's bag.
Good.
And Troy's like, "Oh wow, I found another one in there."
Yep.
Oh wait, this one's crap. Here, take it. You can have
Basically,
it.
yeah.
Thank you. Plop.
Oh, good times. Okay.
This continues like maybe two more times.
I think that's the end. We need to determine who wins
Sure.
the contest, at least.
Yeah.
Do we have a mechanic for that?
I don't think we have a mechanic for that.
Mechanics for things. What even is this? A role-playing game?
I mean, I don't think there's a conflict resolution in this entire game.
There isn't.
No, there's not. I'm trying to see because like the way I would get out of being the neighborhood is the time or location changing, but I don't really have like narrative authority to say who wins or who loses.
Hmm.
I mean, you play the judges. That feels like narrative authority, at least a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't have like a move for it or anything.
Well, we could always just skip that part and go into Kelsa's calibration and just determine the winner of
Sure.
the season
Yep.
instead.
Yep.
Maybe we cut there and we never get to see who wins because that's just kind of how this show works.
Yep.
That's just kind of how this show works. Okay.
Yep.
So how does my calibration work at the ending?
Yep. So instead of us mentioning new stars, the way it works for you is you ask which star was the most fill in the blank, and then we have to come forward with which star, either Troy or Brian, because our only choices are Troy or Brian because they're tied for winning the season.
Okay.
So you get to decide what adjective that is, and you'll get to judge at the end who was the most of that thing.
Do you have ultimate authority over who wins, Kelsa?
Yes.
Because I have to ask the right question.
It doesn't even matter because at the end you get to choose anyway. So even
I mean-
if we all put forward somebody else, you could still put forward the person you want to win and pick them.
I feel
Yes.
like that's against the heart of the game. But
Yes.
uh
Do we want to do it all in one or do it best of three?
What do you mean?
Like Kelsa, do we want to have Kelsa be like,
Ooh, best of three.
I
Three
think I
adjectives.
think 3 adjectives for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
I agree.
that's my preference too.
Okay, perfect. So, which character was the most enthusiastic?
Ooh.
I wanted to put questions that could really go either way, and I want to see you guys sell them. You know
That's
what I mean?
good. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
I don't want to answer. I don't want to ask a question where there's an obvious answer because that's not fun.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing that you could do is like ask a question where like, what are the traits that the winning person should have, and then say who embodied that trait.
Hmm.
Okay, that's an interesting way to put it that I wouldn't have thought of. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Troy. He was always enthusiastic about every single every single aspect of whatever he was doing. If he didn't have one thing, it was not enthusiasm. He was always raring to go, excited to do the job, to do it the best that he could. Like even when he was like sunning himself out in the bed and breakfast, he was enthusiastically sunning himself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like every single thing that he did, it was just always at 110%.
I gotta agree with Troy because Troy was always willing to do whatever was, being thrown out there. I think Brian got really focused on things and really intense, but they usually didn't have much to do with the challenge at hand.
Okay, I'm going to devil's advocate Brian here because I'm going to cut back to the point in the Unreeling where he first met Bryce's dog, and then again in the other Unreeling where he had 4 copies of Bryce's dog and was so enthusiastic about finding a friend, and we see that one date in the coffee shop with everyone, and the dog is there, and he makes his first friend, and it means so much more on Brian than it does on Troy because there's contrast there.
Hmm.
Because he has that focused side.
Hmm.
And then you also get to make your own pitch, Kelsa.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
Yep.
I don't feel like the enthusiasm has to be towards the show to qualify for this question. And so I feel like Brian definitely put forth a lot of effort. And while he was a little bit shy, maybe he was still pushing his own boundaries, even if those boundaries were a lot narrower than Troy's, per se. Um, Ultimately, I have to award the point here, though, and I think I'm gonna give it to Troy, even though my own vote was for Brian. We were tied up, so I'm gonna still give it to Troy though. Overall,
Yep.
I just wanted to say what I saw in Brian there.
Sure.
I love that.
Um, I feel like, I mean, like, what is a trait that a reality show winner would have, especially if we were to say, oh, I've got two traits left. Who was the most obscure?
I mean, Brian, I think hands down. I don't think anyone can. Troy's like an open fucking book. And Brian had all this weird shit going on. He had the whole weirdness with the incinerator that didn't incinerate because fire don't reel. And it actually goes into this void space that apparently feeds the death planet now. Like, and he was like doing this whole cult thing. And like Brian was out there.
That's pretty wild.
Brian was out there, and Troy is just like, yeah, man. I mean, I could bang, and let's also steal some stuff.
Like, I mean, I agree with you on that, but also we learned so much about Brian, and we learned so little about Troy. Like,
I mean, you say that, but you're presuming that there are things to learn.
okay, I can see that, Let's Smash is the extent of Troy's personality. There's not any history there to delve into.
I mean, we don't know like who Troy smashed or like what his preferences are, or
Yes, that
and
is it. Yes,
and Brian, like Brian is like a J.J. Abrams movie. Like, yeah, we learned stuff, but they just were more mystery boxes.
Yeah,
It made more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I feel that for sure.
I am going to also put forward Brian, cutting to the part of the unveiling where he sits at the table and plays with robots and loves the smell of motor oil and stuff like that. And yeah, there are secrets about him that we may never learn in the story.
Yeah, let's give that one to Brian.
Yep.
I think we have to.
I think we have to.
There's no contest.
And now the most important question, or at least the final one. Which star most embodied rejuvenation?
This one is going to be tough.
I'm leaning towards Brian.
I'm leaning towards Troy because I feel like Troy is the one who did a bunch of time travel shenanigans to make other people's lives better. Like almost every single instance of like Kaylee's kids getting saved, June's dog getting saved.
June saved Kaylee's kids.
Did she? I thought that was okay. Well, he definitely saved June's dog, though.
Yes, he did.
Well, he saved June after June got stuck. Saving.
That's what I was thinking of. Thank you. Okay, so he saved June after June
Yeah, because she went like through the mirror and pulled the kids out, but then she got trapped behind there.
Right. I knew he saved somebody in that scene. There we go. Did it.
Yep.
And those definitely feel like rejuvenation, whereas Brian incinerates things, sends them to the
He's in charge of an incinerator, but he rejuvenated this religion that is basically keeping the black hole from eating everything, right? His whole act is basically the purpose that death serves, and that is to bring forth new life. That life can't exist without death. And so someone has to be the curator and caretaker of that.
Okay.
It's like spreading fertilizer on a garden. And that's kind of what I feel like Brian's role is. And also, he rejuvenated himself, which I think is the big thing. He grew so much as a person and as a character. And that's kind of what I took that embodiment of rejuvenation to mean, where Troy just kind of was like one level the whole time. And Brian started out as the shy nerd and grew into a confident cult leader.
That's such a beautiful
I remember the
story.
first time.
He was a shy computer programmer.
Used Brian to show about the incinerator was that he was actually saving things from the incinerator, even if they were ruined books. So maybe he was the custodian of the incinerator, but that doesn't mean that he used that responsibility to destroy. The trial is definitely more inspiring, I'd say.
Since Estaney took all the points that I was going to make about Troy out of my mouth, I am going to instead advocate for... So, like, all of my advocation for Brian is already out on the table. Now, on top of that, I'm going to advocate for Troy by saying that Troy was trying, in addition to the stuff that he's already rejuvenated, he was also trying to rejuvenate the reality show itself using his skills from his other reality show experiences to try to bring sense to this reality show that makes no sense. And
not even sense. I feel like Troy was bringing viewers to the show.
Yes.
I feel like also Troy was kind of rejuvenating reality shows as a genre, just like on a greater scale.
I think y'all just want Troy to win, and I think it should be Brian.
I mean, honestly, I really feel your when you say Brian, I feel it. Like, I really do. That Brian is been there from the beginning. Troy got added halfway through. And Brian's been... I wouldn't say... He's not been in, like, every single scene, but he's been in a huge majority of them. He's definitely been a very large part of this show and this game. And watching that growth arc, I definitely feel that being a rejuvenation. Especially, like, the confidence boost that he got from Ferdinand. So what I'm saying is I agree with you, Estaney. Like, as much as I like Troy,
yes,
as much
I like him too. Don't get me wrong.
Troy's,
I'm happy with either one of
Troy's
these people
the
winning.
stealth agent. Like, they brought him in to get ratings,
and it worked because we all like him,
right?
Yes.
But I still feel like it should be Brian in the end of the day. I feel like...
I guess technically we should have been on the calibrating screen like this whole time.
It's whatever.
Oof. That's what I gotta say.
If they could both win, I would have them holding hands and flying into the sun together. But apparently that's not a mechanic, so I gotta go for Brian.
I mean, Brian gets what he wants. That's the reward for winning the game, right?
I don't know what the reward is for winning the game. I have no
I don't know what
context
the
for it.
reward is for winning the game either at this point. Too many rules have changed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wild.
Gosh, this is real hard. Okay, I want to give it to Brian, and I'm gonna be honest. The reason is because Troy has won every single other reality TV show he has ever been on,
That's true. He has.
and that's it. That's the whole reason.
Oh,
I'm
that
down for
explains that Troy and Jolene are like this couple
Are
that
they?
just go from reality show to reality show.
Oh, what if Jolene's like his manager?
Agent.
Yeah.
Pupperoo.
Oh, look at the
Oh
doggo.
no, it's a pupper.
Hi, dog. I like
I
you.
have found your trophy for winning.
It's dog.
That's what you
You
get
Hi,
have
for
dog.
winning,
Ah,
a dog.
give me a dog.
doggo.
One dog plus one dog. Yeah,
No.
right up your nose. Good dog.
Aw.
So cute.
What a good dog. Everybody loves your dog.
Yeah.
Yes,
dog
It's
is
a great doggy.
Good dog.
Well, all I do for my job all day is look at logos people put on bags. And today there was one with literally raining cats and dogs.
Okay.
Like there was just cats and dogs all over, and then rain, pouring rain onto an animal shelter.
Mhm.
It was really cute.
All right, the winner is Brian. He
Yes.
gets
Yeah.
the 4 copies of Bryce's dog.
And also flung into the sun.
Look into the sun.
He also gets a printed copy of Obfuscate Rejuvenate.
Right.
Mhm.
Signed by all the
home
judges.
game.
Yes.
Oh, boy, that sure was something.
I sort of like. You know what we should do? We should all go around and describe our personal headcanons for what winning the reality show actually
Yes. Perfect.
because that would be good.
Oh my gosh. Like I have no idea.
Yeah. I feel like we just took my one suggestion that I had in our Discord chat and we were just like, yeah, he goes into the sun. But I'm okay. I can go first with my headcanon about what he gets for winning. Because Brian wins the reality show, he goes and he finds Ferdinand after the reality show, and they hug and embrace, and Brian slips his hands up into Ferdinand's coat and starts to slip into the star field, and he goes into another universe, which is a parallel universe of this game. He goes back to the beginning before Giant Sleep was destroyed, and he goes on a spaceship that we never really got to in this game. Even though our idea of Giant Sleep is like, oh yeah, it's a space station neighborhood where they send ships into space. He actually gets up on a ship into space, and there's someone he's running away from, and he goes onto the spaceship and travels for years in stasis, and eventually winds up on this planet called Bantral, where all of the shenanigan happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can go next.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we're in a dark chamber. It's not the same dark chamber as where everyone did their confessionals, but it's still like inky black floor, inky black walls, but like there's like a pathway lined with candles that are dripping candle wax. We see Brian, he's wearing like black and white robes, and he's walking down this pathway, and he stops when he comes to a circle of candles, And outside of the circle, we see each one of the judges in black and white robes. And there's soft chanting as Brian takes candles and arranges them in the circle until it looks like an eye. And then Brian steps into the center of the circle as if he's the pupil of the eye. And he fractures into a million pieces and becomes an O.
Wow.
Yep.
I think that Brian survives the apocalypse when the volcano explodes and covers the whole world in magma, and everyone dies except for him in his library.
That's sad.
And then he can use the knowledge of the library to rejuvenate the whole planet.
Oh.
All right. So Brian and his 4 copies of Bryce's dogs are in a little house in Gardenia Heights. It's got like a little white picket fence, and it's got like a covered porch, a little patio in the back where there's like a barbecue pit that's like one of those fancy ones. It's like all like bricked in and everything. And he's there like playing fetch with these 4 dogs, just living a normal, boring life with his 4 dogs that are all the same dog.
That glitch into and out of existence at random.
Right, exactly. Like he's playing fetch, and like one of them jumps up and leaps and catches the frisbee, and then like glitch and is over next to him already.
And it glitched right through the dog doors that the fences you put in the house, so that the dogs can't get in the kitchen.
Clips, the dogs like clip through walls and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
They clip into the garbage can, and it just makes a huge mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look over to the house and you just see a tail wagging through the siding.
Dog door is actually too small for the dog's hitbox.
Otherwise, it's exactly, totally, perfectly normal life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my god, I love it. Okay, great. This is where we would normally end. And I don't think we have an unreeling after this because we are...
Everyone goes back to their own lives, or maybe they're all covered in magma. Who knows?
Yep.
One or all of those things happen.
Mm-hmm. I still like my headcanon the best.
I mean, I still like mine the best.
Ghost
so.
of Banshee.
That's why they're our own headcanons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They're all good.
I had to go with the meta one. I've been actually trying to play into that headcanon since like maybe it was either episode 1 or episode 2. Every time I got the chance to play Brian, I was trying to like drop hints, which is why all the stuff with the motor oil happened, and why I wanted to play with the robots, and why they made like the sleeve out of like basket weaving stuff.
I see. I didn't pick up on the connection there at all.
Me neither, but it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we did go on, I just wanted to point out, we did go onto a spaceship once. Remember,
That's
we
true.
all got sent to different planets and we had to rejuvenate
Yes.
them?
That's true.
Yes.
That is
And
true.
then, and then Troy fell into a star.
Yes.
Well, he
Good
left
times.
into a star.
As you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it told him to. So he's just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. That's what I do. I'm Troy.
Yeah, like everything else, you never really saw what happened after that.
No, it was just like, he's just in the next scene. He's there.
Or someone wearing his face.
I mean, who even knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's 4
Nobody.
Troys.
I
There
think
were
it's too
4
many.
Troys.
Kill
As-
your double.
It's too many Troys.
Yes.
Too many
One
Troys.
Troy is
Too many Troys.
See, in the
One
alternate
Troy
universe,
is almost too many Troys.
where the alternate universe, Troy wins. His wish was to become Brian's dogs.
New head
You know-
canon.
That's so weird, but I kind of like it. He's like, you know what would be cool? You a dog.
Or what if I was like four dogs?
Dogs.
All the dogs are the most enthusiastic, happy, carefree dogs.
And they also keep humping your leg.
I mean, just a little bit. It's fine. All right. Well, good game, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's do some outros. Golden, why don't you start? We'll go this way across my screen.
All right. I will give a shout out to other people's stuff. On Kickstarter, Jenna Moran is kickstarting Glitch, which is basically the newest in her diceless RPG world of Nobilis, where you play soldiers that have given up on trying to destroy reality, and now they're trying to find a way to live with that, and reality is slowly killing them. It's going to be awesome because all of Jenna's games are awesome. Let's see here. There were also some really cool Twitch streams. I didn't write any of them down. No. Oh well. I retweeted them.
Where can we find your retweets?
You can find me at Haunted Sky with 2 H's on Twitter.
Amazing.
Awesome. Next, that brings us over to Asani. I heard that you do things on the internet.
I do lots of things on the internet, actually. There's so many things on the internet. I have my own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Asani, where I do variety games. At the beginning of the show, we were talking about Disco Elysium, which is the game I'm going to be playing tomorrow. It's real good. You should come hang out for it and listen to my brain talk to itself. It's real good. I also do art streams on Wednesdays. And I have a Patreon for my art at patreon.com/Astani. You help support my art and get cool rewards like wallpapers and videos and a secret project that I'm working on that non-patrons don't even know about. So that's a thing. So that's been
Secret
fun.
project.
Yeah.
Is it the one with the tree?
Shh. Do you not understand secret?
I'm excited to see how it turns out. As a patron, I know about it.
Yes.
Lavender, what about you?
Hi, I'm
What about
Lavender.
you?
I made this game. You can find me at Dark Lavender Void on Twitter and Patreon if you want to support me continuing to make games. I am really glad that we played this game and wrapped up this game, and that I am probably going to destroy this version and come up with
Why?
like it's good, but I have a new concept of how to set up games without them being hyper confusing like this was.
You've had like 4 finished games
I know.
You
of
should
this
just
of this
save
one
them.
game.
Save them and release them and have 4 house flipping games or whatever.
You have to roll a d4 to figure out which version of this game you're going to play.
That feels really fucky, and I love it. But in addition to that, I have some other ideas that I want to try out first, because I have the new system in my head, but I want to test it to see if it actually works as I intend it to. Because I basically been looking at design posts from Vincent's blog and piecing it together with what other people are thinking about games and what I think about games. And now I have a process to do that. And I was trying to map this game in that system, and I was like, oh, this is why I have so many problems here, and here. And it's too complicated a system to explain right here, because it relies on a lot of context, but To test out that system, I have 2 different game ideas that I'm working on. I have one that is a like my take on like fantasy role playing, which I'm tentatively calling Sphinx Dragon. It's a game where like there's a dragon and a tower and stuff like that, and sphinxes are everywhere and trying to find you. And I'm coming up with a really good mechanic for sphinxes asking you riddles that doesn't feel like I, as a person, have to come up with some riddle that has some like sensible answer. Um, it's really
Random tables for
Yes.
I saw
different
this
parts of the
really
riddle.
good resource.
um,
Somebody wrote like a 10-page essay about how to come up with random riddles. It
that's
was a
cool.
It was a YouTube video. I'll send you a link.
Cool.
Ooh, cool.
The way I'm handling it is you say the riddle and you decide what contemplating this riddle helps you know about the universe, but the Sphinx decides what you're stumped on about the riddle. And it's something that your character can't know because you're stumped on the riddle. That's how I handle that. And the other one is like a Yu-Gi-Oh slash Greed Island sort of game where you're like you're playing with like playing cards and you're playing these like card trading games, and you handle it like interpretively and with like your signature creatures that you like to play, and you make that up as you go. It's modeled not after like the Yu-Gi-Oh actual game, but the first season of the anime where the rules didn't make any sense and everybody made them up as they went.
Good, yes.
But Yu-Gi-Oh made perfect sense.
Not in the first season. They broke all the rules. They were like,
Just
yeah,
use
I can
Pot of
fuse my
Greed.
monster into your monster and give it a
No,
virus.
I mean, it wasn't the same card text as in the printed game, but
this is wild. Season 0 is even worse. It's not even about dual monsters at all.
You know, all I know is that I can win any conflict as long as I top deck a Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yes.
you just have to believe in the cards.
Heart of the cards, yep. Heart of the cards, Blue Eyes White Dragon, I win.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's me. That's all my stuff.
Hello, I'm Kelsa. This is my channel. You can find me on Twitter at Kelsa, Twitch and YouTube. It's Kelsa Delphi, but you knew that already because you're here. I also play role-playing games on other people's channels in addition to here on my own channel. I also play over on Party Wipe Games on Thursdays. I'm the GM for Packet Loss, which is a Scum and Villainy actual play. On Tuesdays, I'm over on the Greyhawk channel. We're starting D&D back up again with Savage Tide. And on Sundays, I'm over on Outro's channel. We are playing Mothership. The game is Bag of Bones. And, the dog!
Oh, pupper!
Tiny flying dog. My tiny flying dog emote hasn't been approved yet. I'm kind of disappointed, but it should be soon.
Oh no.
Anyway,
Soon.
soon. TM. Anyway, thank you all for coming out. I'm gonna kick us over to the break screen, except it's not break, it's the end. We'll say goodbye forever, and in 2 weeks we're gonna come back with a one shot. It's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.